Hey everyone, it's Alan Schimmel, and welcome to TechStrong TV. Today is April 17th. It's Friday. This is our 15th episode of TechStrong TV. I don't know how many you've caught. I hope multiples of them, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far. We're having a blast doing it. It's really starting to catch on. We are getting emails and messages from all over the world for people who want to participate and are enjoying the show. And we'll keep doing it. We're going to keep trying to make it better and bring you good news and tech-related, DevOps, cyber, cloud native, digital transformation information as best we can. We're doing it right here from our media studio in Boca Raton, Florida. And, you know, our video team led by Paul Gustafson and a few other folks are really just working really hard here to keep our show moving. That being said, let me tell you what we've got in store for you today. First of all, I'm happy to have a friend of mine from the J-Frogs, one of the frogs. Ido Green is going to join us, and he's going to talk to us about, you know, what J-Frog is doing to give back and to help during these unusually difficult times. And Ido's also a guy with a tremendous history of success with big companies and small in Israel and in the U.S. So it'll be a good conversation. I want you to join that. Secondly, going back to our vaults. We haven't been going into our vaults as much as we'd like. I pulled up an interview I did with Jasmine James over at the Devops Enterprise Summit. I think it was in Las Vegas last year. So that was probably around October or something like September in Las Vegas. And of course, Jasmine, if you don't know, is the director of the DevOps Center of Excellence at Delta Airlines, and she's just done an amazing job there. And she's just such a bright young woman. I think I enjoy listening to her. I think you'll enjoy the interview. After that, we'll break into what's news on this Friday, April 17th. And then after the news, clear out your desk, put on your workout clothes. We've got Jeremy Jones doing WFH Fitness, work from home fitness with Jeremy. And Jeremy's going to walk you through. This will be his third personal training class on TechStrong. And as we've said before, you can also access that on demand at techstrong.tv. After Jeremy's class, we have Grant Goads, a cryptographer and chief scientist at Guard Square, talking to our managing editor, Charlene O'Hanlon. We have Mitchell Ashley over in the analyst corner as usual, and Mitchell has two pieces he's going to be working on. Both of them are pretty good, and Mitchell will tell you more about them. And then we'll bring it back here to wrap up. So it sounds like a great Friday, great way to start your weekend. Stand by as we do a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with our first guest.
Tech is strong. We may be working from home, but tech goes on. Tech will continue to collaborate. Tech will continue to communicate. Tech is strong. Join us for TechStrong Con, June 4th, 12 hours strong, TechStrong. Featuring John Bacha-Galupe Willis, Shannon Leeks, William Hurley, Jasmine James, Kat Swatell, Cornelia Davis, James Wickett, Courtney Kistler, Damon Edwards. Live Q&A with speakers, exhibit halls, and more. Free, but register before spots fill at techstrongcon.com.
All right, back here at the studio. All right, as I mentioned, our next guest is Ido Green from J-Frog. J-Frog, as usual, from Shlomi Ben-Haim, their CEO, on down. The frogs are trying to help where they can. During these unusual times with COVID-19, they have a number of projects underway. Ido's a great person to tell you about it. He's also just an interesting person with an interesting history. So let's bring on Ido Green from J-Frog.
This is Digital Anarchist.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us. As I mentioned, our next segment features Ido Green of J-Frog. Ido, welcome to TechStrong TV.
Hi, and thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you on, Ido. I think, Ido, was it the last time we talked, was it Yalla DevOps in Israel, or maybe it was DevOps World?
It was in San Francisco, in Swamp Up.
Oh, was that before or after Yala? I think Yala was after Swamp Up.
Yeah, but I wasn't at
Oh, you
Yala
weren't
Devops
at
this
Yala.
year, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So we met in
definitely
San
not. It
Francisco.
wasn't Yala. It was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Anyway, for our audience who may not be familiar with you, they know JFrog, obviously, but, you have a distinguished background yourself. Why don't you give them a little who is Ido Green story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the high-tech industry for the past 25 years. You could see the white hair, and started in a few startups in Israel. Then Yahoo acquired a startup that I was part of the founding team, Fairchase, which basically back in the day, in 2005, did the vertical search engine for travel, like Kayak. And spent a few years with Yahoo, then started High Gear Media, which was another startup that focused on the automotive industry. And when we sold it, I joined Google, spent 7 years with Google, never thought that I'll be so much time with Google, but it was a great ride and great fun. And then a year with Netflix, and now it's JFrog. I know the founders for over a decade, so it was like joining some friends and let's try and see how we could help each other.
Absolutely. And at JFrog, I forgot your official title. Why don't you go over it? More than your title, what is your what are your duties at JFrog?
No worries. We spoke actually on the title in Swamp Up, so it's a good circle that we're closing. The title is VP of Technology, and now I'm in charge also on the partner engineering and the IoT and the innovation arm that we have. And the day-to-day job is mainly to focus and see where we could find those leverage points in our business and see how we could fit technology better to serve the community, to serve partners, to serve our customers, and basically to see how our tools and platform could help developers be more productive and effective with what they do.
Absolutely. So, when you took this job, you couldn't have imagined that a pandemic would be forcing us all to work from home and creating chaos in the global economic system. But here we are. How is JFrog responding to this? I know you've got a few programs we're going to talk about, but before we get into the programs of helping everyone else, how are the frogs themselves doing? They're working from home now as well.
Yeah, so JFrog, it was very interesting to see how people are adapting and the shift. And we are a company that the culture is very rooted in the office and the atmosphere and how you interact with each other. And it was really encouraging to see how people are adapting quite quickly. And I can tell you for the team that I'm leading that we see productivity even a bit higher than usual. So it was a challenge and people needed to adjust and to find places at home because, working from home got advantages, but lots of disadvantages. But overall, I think that the company show a huge strength in the sense of how people are adapting quite quickly to this new norm. And overall, I think that people are appreciating that we are in an industry and in a place where we could keep working, keep contributing, and keep our daily life more or less. We see around ourselves, so many sectors and industries and companies that are in a much harder position. And in that regard, we are truly grateful. And of course, the leadership of the company came with concrete suggestions, concrete processes that people could leverage and use and be customized to do things even better. Just for few tips that we earned so far, we're leveraging a lot, of course, Zoom and Slack, but also we gathering and having those quick stand-up meetings in the mornings and in the afternoon. Just like you in the office will bump into someone and want 5 minutes to think out loud on something, we're trying to do it in the virtual world, and so far so good. It's working quite nicely.
You know what? The same here. We do at 10 o'clock in the morning. Just touch base with everyone because with us, some of our remote people are in other time zones, and so we do with them. And then at the end of the day as well. It's interesting, and you're right. You know what? Count your blessings. Because us in the tech industry here, though there have been layoffs in tech. Let's not sugarcoat it, but overall, I mean, I just saw a report today. Another 5-point-something million people in the U.S. Filed for unemployment last week, bringing the total up to over 22 million in the last 3 weeks. And or 4 weeks maybe. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. And so we are relatively lucky. But the other thing is what you mentioned about people being more productive. We see that in talking to a lot of folks who are working from home. You know, once there's a bump getting adapted, but once you adapt and start doing it, it works, right? And so people are working from home, and whether they'll go back to working in office, we'll see when we get there. I wanted to really focus, though, our conversation today, on what is JFrog doing, if anything, and I know they are. What kind of programs, what's JFrog doing to help in this kind of situation we find ourselves in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the minute that we understood that, we have here a world pandemic and situation is extremely bad, we really wanted to help, I'm sure, like everyone else. And since we are not part of the real heroes that are working in the front line of, the health industry and taking care of patients, or scientists and researchers that are trying to find this vaccination and a solution to this horrific problem, we decided, let's focus on what we do best, which is enabling team to work better with software, and let's give it for free. So we coined a program that we call Frog Care. And basically, if you are an organization, a group, anyone that is doing some research around COVID-19, they could get best of breed platform. So basically, JFrog is giving them the platform, E+. So it's the best of breed with Artifactory, X-Ray for security, pipeline for CI/CD, all the needs and grits, just to make sure that you will be more productive, more effective with what you do. And as we all know, software is running everything in the world, and specifically when you're talking about research and big data and ML and AI and all the needs and grits that scientists are now using in order to fight COVID-19 and to find some sort of a vaccination to this novel coronavirus, we want to make sure that we will harness them with the best tools that we know how to provide. And it's not only the tools. I must tell you, I really feel proud that we are giving it, we're giving the support with it. We just want to embrace, it's not anything but just giving those organizations the best of what we could offer. And since we are dealing with software, I hope that it will touch the right organizations, the right nonprofit groups that are working for this, and hopefully we could find those solutions quicker than the usual trajectory.
From your mouth to God's ears. But that's fantastic. So it's basically the entire JFrog Enterprise platform that you're allowing people to use for free, which is fantastic. Is it only for nonprofits, or this is for anyone?
So anyone that is doing research on COVID-19 could apply to the program. And it's basically giving you the platform on AWS right now. So you could basically be up and running in matters of few hours. You don't need to invest anything. You don't need to do anything. And anyone that is doing research, anyone that is actively trying to find some sort of a cure around it is most welcome to apply to the program. Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. So it doesn't have to be a not-for-profit as long as you're doing any research towards COVID. Then that's great. I don't want you to name names, but how's the take-up on this been late so far?
Yeah, so we just launched it, and the numbers are really nice. We don't have concrete numbers to talk on, but we would love to follow you in the next few weeks and to share with you the stats. But I'm really hopeful that it will touch the right places. I would say it's more about quality and not quantity here. So I would expect that few organizations that are doing this interesting research now will apply and will get all the support and help that we could provide them. But yeah, we would love to follow up with you and share some numbers once we'll have them. It's just launch, everything now in this new world, days feels like weeks, but it's only, a few days that it's been up in the air. So it's really, really early. It's still really early.
It is. Days do feel like weeks. At our meeting this morning, I'd asked for some financial reports, and I wanted to know, well, since this started, and we were trying to think, well, when did this start, right? When did we start all working from home? And first, I knew it was in March, not just April, For some reason, I thought it was March 23rd, 24th. Someone else said it was March 17th. Whenever, it feels like it's been longer than that. But you know what? We should tell people, if people are interested in this, where can they go get information?
Oh, so just jfrog.com/COVID-19, or just, Google JFrog blog. And then on the blog, we have a blog post that they're just describing the program and everything that is included. So those two places are the best. And of course, after we'll finish the interview, I'll tweet about it. And I'm sure on JFrog social channels like, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all the rest, you have their links to the program. And it's really one really simple form to fill. And then someone from JFrog will be in touch with you.
Excellent. Good. Anything else JFrog's doing around the COVID situation?
This, I would say, it's the main effort that we are trying just to help and do our share and to see how we could help more. Except that, of course, we are trying to see how we could help on a local basis, but no official program on that yet. We are trying to see how we could help employees and of course customers and partners when we're talking with, and it's on per basis situation. Some people are taking it a bit differently, and we are trying to do our best to help everyone in our community.
Sure. So, you mentioned the last time you and I spoke was at Swamp Up, and I guess it was around last May or June in San Francisco.
Right.
And you guys had Swamp Up coming this year. It was supposed to be was it San Jose, right? Or in the Valley? Yeah. So that, I assume, is virtual or pushed.
Yeah, you're taking me to places that maybe Troy will kill me if I'll speak a bit more, because we are going to announce.
Well, no, if you don't have official announcements, don't announce anything unofficially. The point I was trying to make is, and we see it here at MediaOps, right? Because don't forget, we deal with JFrog, but we deal with so many of the vendors in the DevOps, cybersecurity, cloud native space. And some vendors were very focused on in-person events. Other vendors, not so much. Other vendors are more web-based, or they'll do, different kinds of marketing, right? JFrog is one of the companies that really, those in-person events, and not only just the JFrog events, but you could always count on finding a JFrog booth, whether it be DevOps World or DevOps Days, at different events around the world. If there was a DevOps themed event, there was a JFrog booth there. And that was such an integral part. I mean, Baruch is there with his hat.
Absolutely.
And, and the whole team is there, right?
Right.
And how is that affecting you guys? You spoke earlier about the culture and the everything.
Exactly, yeah. It's part of the DNA, it's part of the culture. The company basically grew from the community. It's really one of those rare cases where you see a bottom-up growth. And it's because of this, I would say, relationship and being in the community and having those one-on-one conversations in conferences and unconferences, and making sure that, you there to hear what are the main pain points of the community, and we're adjusting. So I spoke with Baruch, I think a week ago. He is adjusting. We need to change things, there's no doubt. I'm sure that, people are really waiting for a place and time that we could, interact again and bring it back. But for now, we will do, the best we can with the virtual world, with the virtual conferences. And I'm sure that we could talk pretty soon in the near future and share, what we're going to do for Swamp Up.
Sure. What about lasting effects of this, though? It's like, for instance, the working from home. If your team is functioning highly working from home and you haven't lost anything in culture, there's not really a big gun to your head to say move back to the office when it's okay, right? If you're able to reach the community without having to do booths and sometimes you guys would have 3 or 4 booths at 3 or 4 different events around the world on any given day, right? Maybe that's not necessary. Do you think we'll see kind of permanent changes in how JFrog operates from this?
It's a great question, and I think we'll do. I think that the core strengths of each organization, each company is to adapt and to see what's the new world is bringing us. And I think that in some cases where you want to incubate a new idea, you want to find the MVP, you do need this in-office, interactions. Sometimes when you are, dealing with, I would say, more traditional roadmap and you know what you're going to develop, yeah, you could work remotely and still be productive and execute well. So I think the secret sauce here will be to see how organizations are adapting. And I agree with you. We'll see many companies, not just JFrog, adjusting, and maybe, it's less about being all day in the office. Maybe it's a combination. Maybe it's a combination of virtual events and in-person ones. It's definitely going to be something that will be different. To tell you that I know today exactly what it will be, I don't. But I'm sure that we will adjust and we'll try to find how we could do or enjoy both worlds.
Absolutely. Ido, we've got to call it a wrap on this interview. I'm sorry we're about out of time. We have a bunch of them back to back. I want to thank you for joining us. Stay well, stay healthy, right? Give my best to all of the frogs from Shlomi on down. And hopefully, like you said, we'll see you soon in person, sooner than later.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ellen. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and be safe. And I really hope to meet you in person soon.
All righty. Ido Green from JFrog. Hey, do go check out, it's jfrog.com/COVID-19. If you're a team doing research on COVID and you can benefit from having some best-in-class tools like the JFrog platform, they're making it available. You really no reason not to do it. Ido, be well.
Thank you.
All right. This is Alan Schimmel. We'll be back soon with our next guest.
Right now, software is more important than ever. It is powering the online services enabling teams to connect, collaborate, and work remotely, and allowing innovation to continue to get to market rapidly. CloudBees offers software delivery automation solutions to support all remote teams, and you can use the best-in-class tools you need to get the job done. CloudBees helps you build stuff that matters. Visit cloudbees.com to learn more.
Okay, back here in the studio. As I mentioned earlier, our little bit of something old today comes from the Devops Enterprise Summit in Vegas in 2019. It's an interview that we did with Jasmine James, the director of the Delta Airlines DevOps Center of Excellence. And Jasmine's a budding rock star. I think you'll get it when we speak with her and you hear what she has to say. So without wasting any more time, let's go over to Jasmine.
This is Digital Anarchist at DevOps Enterprise Summit, Las Vegas, 2019.
Hi, this is Mitch Ashley with digitalanarchist.live. Welcome to our streaming video from the DevOps Enterprise Summit here 2019 in Las Vegas. I have the pleasure of being joined by Jasmine James, who's with Delta Airlines. She has a talk coming up this afternoon. Now, we were talking before, I have a little bit of airline experience way back in my history, and believe it or not, some of those systems are still running. Scary topic, but we're not going to talk about that today. Welcome. Glad to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Jasmine James. I'm the manager of the DevOps Center of Excellence at Delta Airlines. I'm responsible for 3 DevOps entities at Delta. One is the tooling, the next being developer practice, and also our cultural adoption of DevOps at Delta. So.
Sounds pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
A lot of 3 important areas.
Yes.
Well, good. So what's your talk about this afternoon? What are you going to talk about?
Yeah, so my talk is going to be focused on our dojo practice at Delta. And this is a place that we built from scratch with the help of the dojo community. And it's essentially a place where teams come and they get reformed, I like to say. So we teach them about all the new tooling and modern technologies that we're introducing into the Delta ecosystem, and also making sure that they are immersed in that learning experience so they can take away the cultural takeaways as well, versus just taking those practices, but also changing the way they think and their mindset.
Interesting. Now, how much, what kind of information, training, knowledge did they get coming into the dojo, and then what do they leave with?
Right. So we have 6 competencies currently: API, Agile, DevOps, Cloud, security, and QA/QE. So all of those areas, we have curriculum from different from different pieces of the organization, and they give us coaches. So they're really subject matter experts in each individual area, and they coach on anything the team needs. So we start with an intake process where the team pretty much tells us their life story, right? What have you done? What do you want to do? And then we formulate a curriculum to coach them and to get them to those outcomes that they want to get to.
Sounds like my therapist, but not quite the same. Okay, a whole nother topic.
Not quite.
A whole nother topic. What's the reception of this by the staff? That sounds like a big investment in people's skills and times and, frankly, their career.
It is. And Delta being, we're a large company. We have a large amount of our people that have been with the company for quite some time. So a lot of times, we have individuals that are like, I don't want to really do anything new. But what we've seen is that when you put it in practice and they're immersed in it, their whole team is doing it at the same time, and it really is relevant to their day-to-day. It really resonates phenomenally, and we've seen a lot of growth in teams. So it's been really great.
I know what you mean. There's a lot of momentum with how we do things now, and is it good enough the way it is, and why should we change? And sometimes there's good reasons to leave things alone, but oftentimes it's just that inertia that comes with an organization. So has this been a way to kind of get over that and give folks a path to pursue, as opposed to I have to change and I don't know why and what I'm going to get out of it?
Right. It's been a way for us to make their journey just more seamless and more meaningful, because we have other learning opportunities at Delta, but they're all pretty focused on concepts and just making sure that we create conceptual knowledge within the team. But when you immerse them and it is relevant to their day-to-day, what they're doing and delivering right now, they internalize it, and then they're like your best cheerleaders at that point, because you're really creating value for them at that point. So it's really nice.
Everybody asks, what does it mean to me, right? Even though we don't want to be selfish, but it's always, what's the value I'm going to get out of this, and how's it going to help me, and et cetera. So,
yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about then, did you get started in setting up the dojos? Have you been kind of involved taking on things that are already happening, or
so I have quite the, in 3 years I've been at Delta, quite the journey. So I started with the Devops Center of Excellence as a system engineer, then transitioned into the coaching role as the dojo was stood up middle of last year. And I was a part of standing it up, coaching the initial teams that were there. So, pretty much figuring out how we were going to deliver all of these new modern tools, technologies, cloud native development, all of those things to the teams. Then I became the dojo leader, and I was essentially responsible for the team's experience from a holistic dojo perspective. And now I'm the manager of the Center of Excellence, and I have an engineer on my team, Frank Lamar, who leads the dojo now. So I'm just pretty much responsible for making sure we have business and we're funded now. So all throughout the life cycle of the dojo, I've been a part of it. So it really holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah, that has to be a great sense of satisfaction for you.
Absolutely.
So tell us, from a human person perspective, what's it like when somebody shows up day one at the dojo and they're all looking at each other like, okay, I'm not sure what I'm doing here, what's going to happen, and what's that experience like from that point forward? It's
day one is an interesting time for teams. Some come in there excited because they've heard, other teams come through and what they've gained, but there's like, I don't know what this means. Am I, you're trying to make me do new things, and it can be either way. But I think that by the end of the first week, we have like what's called a liftoff, and it's just essentially we learn about the team, what the team wants to get out of it, and we work on making them comfortable with the process of change and comfortable with being in a position where you're not really delivering essentially, but you're learning more so than delivering. And it's a huge shift, because if your team is focused on constantly delivering, not delivering makes some people uncomfortable.
Sure.
So, and some leadership uncomfortable. So it's not only a matter of making the individuals comfortable with it, but also their leadership. So once they kind of understand that they're here to learn and slow down in order to speed up, that's when the magic happens. So throughout the course of 2 to 8 weeks, once you get that mindset, the rest is just beautiful. I love it.
It's a bit counterintuitive, right? Slow down so we can go fast.
Exactly.
Simple is hard.
Yeah, simple is hard.
So did you pattern this, or did you bring someone else in to help you kind of create this?
Yeah.
How did that all happen?
Right. So in the initial onset of the dojo, we worked with a lot of companies that were doing just that. They had dojos, or they were in the process of building theirs up. So it was good to see likes of Target, Ford, and how far they had come and the value that they've seen from establishing something like a dojo. We then brought in a partner, Point B, to help us figure out what the structure looked like. We had to We took a room and made it an agile workspace. So there was a lot of changes that had to be made. How do we, intake, curriculum, how do we define all of these things so that it's structured for teams to start coming through? So they were great partners, and we were able to get started in the course of, I think, 3 months with working with them. So it was a lot, but it was worth it. Yeah.
So learn from others, which is a lot of what a dojo and DevOps is about. Right?
Absolutely. Why reinvent the wheel, right? If another company has done just that, we're all in this together, I think. And transformation and agility, we're all in it together, so let's share. Yeah.
Great. So now let's talk about what are things like when folks exit. Do they come in as a team or individuals and form a team? How does that work? And then how do they kind of finish the program?
Yeah, so they come in as a team. That's one of our few requirements. So they have to be a team. They have to be representative of a full development team. So you have different roles within that, right? And when they come in, essentially they work. We try to deliver on the outcomes that they defined. And then when they leave the dojo, we just take a look back and say, okay, this is how you've grown. So we have a process where we're assessing and measuring them. And we actually give those results to the team. We don't do a readout to our leadership. They own that, because we really want to leave them with the fact that this is your learning journey. You all own this. If you want to choose to grow within these competency areas more, here is the playbook to do that. And after that, we check in 3 times, 30, 60, 90-day check-ins to see have they regressed in certain areas. And if so, we'll cycle them back through for a specific training on that area and just try to make sure that they're developing that muscle memory. Yeah.
Very good. What are the activities after? Is there kind of a mentorship program, a way to stay in touch? A graduate program, postgraduate, that kind of thing?
Well, so after the fact, we usually just do, some call sessions with the team and just kind of ask how they're doing, not really structured in any way. A lot of times teams actually reach out to us, because we're the experts that they spent 8 weeks with us. So we have rapport. So they reach out to us even outside of the 30, 60, 90-day check-in many times to request, hey, we're not doing so good on this. Could you come participate in my Agile ceremony? We're kind of, let's kind of reiterate some of those learnings that we had in the past dojo engagement. So it goes many different ways, but we just want to be there for the teams. And I think to make sure that they know that they have a support system in their journey.
Do folks ever cycle back through and go a second time, or is it sort of one time and you're equipped?
Yeah, so we've had a few teams cycle back through, but for specific competency areas. So we've not had a team come do the 8 weeks with all of the areas and then come back for all the areas again. It's more so focus on those areas that they want to get focused improvement on. So that's been, I think we had one team that came 3 times. So 1 time for the full experience, 1 for QA, QE, and then for additional cloud help as they went into our new infrastructure OpenShift.
That's the team I think I would have been on. Help me out. What do you think have been the easiest things to learn, to come up to speed on? What have been some of the more difficult things for people to grok?
So, I think the easiest things that teams can do is get the technical stuff out of the way. I think that a lot of the technology today is very user-friendly, right? It's very low barrier to entry. They have a lot of great documentation. So individuals are pretty good at learning that kind of stuff, especially if they have a technical background. The hard part is the people, right? So changing behaviors and just changing mindsets from thinking a certain way and moving more towards agility has been the hardest thing. And in the DevOps space, it's even harder because we have, Dev and Ops have been separated for all time, really. So having a development team and saying, hey, you build it, you own it. You're not going to just throw this over the wall to your operations team. So you have to really, do what you need to do in order to make sure that your code is great, right? You don't want to get in a position where in production having to, fix all these things. So that has been the difficult part.
I would imagine part of that conversation, part of that learning is, well, what is my role?
Yeah.
It's changed, and
right.
It seems like it's unfamiliar or different, but I don't know what it means yet.
Right.
And I imagine you come out of this experience in part going, okay, I'm an ops person. Now I at least know what this is like and kind of what my world will be like next.
Exactly.
Back to.
And I think a lot of what we've seen is that there's a lot of empathy now for that role, right? Whereas before that didn't exist. And now you're thinking about the implications of your decisions, on the front end of development lifecycle, what implications they have on the back end. So I've seen that happen. It's been really, really a great thing to see. Yeah.
You know, a word we don't use very often is fear, and those it's often self-created, right?
Yep.
What do you think are some of the concerns or fears people have going into a process like that? And maybe how do they come to grips with that, or come out on a positive side of that?
Right. From what I've seen a lot of people just have fear of it's a lot to take on, right? A new role, a new way of working, and it's just everything is changing like underneath your feet almost. So I think that throughout the process, it's important that we instill the fact that you have to be okay with change, right? Change is inevitable. So we have to be okay with that because next year, 2, 5 years from now, things are going to change again. So if a team member can leave with that understanding that change is constant and that, I need to always be in a learning mindset, I think that's the greatest gift we can give them, because regardless of what you learn now, right, it's going to change, but having that mindset of that, it's okay, and I can do this, that's the greatest gift that we can give, and to set them off on that path of continuous learning.
That's a super valuable thing to walk away from.
Yeah, absolutely.
For lots of places in life.
Absolutely.
As well as this. I would imagine, too, there's some level of comfort with everyone going through it together.
Oh, yeah.
And it isn't like no one goes through it unchanged.
Right.
We all do individually, and we all do as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. What we've seen, when teams first form in the dojo, some teams have come into the dojo already formed, already having applications, but the greenfield teams that are doing total new development, total new team, they've been able to mesh faster because they're learning together. They're going through these changes together, and it's a bonding experience almost. So it's really great to see, and we know that teams that norm, faster, they deliver faster, better quality software. So it's been really great to see that.
What do you think it is that maybe existing teams take a little longer to get to that point? Is it some unlearning some behaviors or assumptions that you come in with? Is that what it is?
I think so. And I think that as a team member, right, I have these ideas about my other team members, right? But if everyone is moving and shifting, it's kind of, foreign to you almost in a sense. And it's like, oh, well, I have to redefine how I look at this person now. And you're doing it yourself. And then you're having to redefine your entire team. So that's almost a twofold task to accomplish. So I think that's one of the main things. But teams can do it. I've seen it done.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Having played a leadership role through this whole life cycle of creating this, what do you foresee as kind of the next thing, the next evolution of the dojo, the tool set, the culture? What are you working on next to get to that next place?
Oh, so much, right? So first and foremost, right now at Delta, we're working on scaling agility. So we're looking at entire value streams and how we can deliver full value faster, better, and with more quality. So right now we're looking at scaled teams, so team of teams, and figuring out how we can enable them in the same way that we've enabled individual teams at the dojo. So figuring out what are those seams that, the constraints within the whole system versus within one individual team. So that's next on our list, and we have a couple of ideas about how to do that. From a tooling standpoint, we are in the public cloud space now. We're dabbling there, so we have a lot of things to figure out from an architectural perspective and from a tooling perspective to make sure that we have everything we need in order to be successful within the public cloud space and make it just easily adoptable for the entire Delta workforce. So those are the two things top of mind that we're working on right now.
Are there any technologies that you have to be using already to go through the dojo process, or is anybody, whether there's someone who's still maintaining an ACP, airline control program, technology, to doing something in Kubernetes or in containers? Is there a requirement of where you need to be to then begin this process?
Well, we want it to be a meaningful experience. So we want teams that are actually going to use the modern tools, right? So if you have, developers on the mainframe, TPF things like that, we don't have a curriculum formulated for them just yet. So we're really focused on teams that are developing new capabilities within our modern tool chain, GitLab, Jenkins, Nexus, and also leveraging some of our newer infrastructure options such as our Delta Cloud Platform or OpenShift. Yeah.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Wish you the best with your talk this afternoon.
Really appreciate it.
I know it'll be engaging and very informative.
I'm just going to play this video, right? This is it.
There you go. There you go. Write down what I said.
Exactly.
I'll just read that, right. Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing your experience too, because, just as you mentioned, learning from others, what they've done, I know there'll be many that'll learn from you.
Sharing is caring, right?
It is. It is. Thank you for joining us. Mitch Ashley here with Digital Anarchist. You can check out prior videos at digitalanarchist.com. We'll have those up in a couple days, sometime next week. But also check us out on our other platforms. We're live streaming now to YouTube and to Facebook. We have an app for iOS and for Android. And of course, we have our other online properties, if you will, Security Boulevard, Devops.com, Container Journal. So lots of resources to be able to leverage to share some of this information. Thanks for joining us.
Coding is no longer just about creating new and innovative features. AppSec is a top priority, and agile organizations are looking for ways to win at security without slowing down their release cycles. This means reconfiguring our mindset and shifting security as far left as possible, the coding phase. Join us at the Secure Coding Virtual Summit by WhiteSource on April 23, 2020. Hear from industry-leading practitioners, analysts, and thought leaders from the AppSec and cybersecurity realm as they share their insights, principles, and best practices to achieve better, secure software. Visit securecoding.com for more information and to register.
Okay, guys, we're back. So at this time of the day, we usually do our news review of Security Boulevard, Container Journal, Devops.com. And as usual, I've got a few articles I want to just point out to you, but they're not meant to be exhaustive or comprehensive. You really should go to the site, sign up for the newsletter, whatever, if you want to stay on top of all the latest. But let me give you a couple headlines here. On Security Boulevard, we've got a good article on how blockchain-based VPNs could be the next step. You know, we've seen a lot of attacks on our VPN technology and a lot of people wondering what the heck we're doing with VPN technology going forward anyway. So blockchain-based VPNs, they'll kind of take it to another level in terms of how the traffic is going. It's almost like a Tor. I forgot the name of the word already, but sort of, it's a Tor side kind of setup, and it'll make it much harder. There's a good article on that. You should check that out. Another good article on Security Boulevard it's actually a topic that we have been hammering because there's an audience for it, and everyone wants to kind of get this stuff. And that is cybersecurity for remote workers is your business ready? And it's really kind of a checklist of things you should be looking at in terms of shoring up your security with your workforce remote, whether it be temporarily or on a permanent basis. So check that out. But that's 2 of 40 or 50 articles that are out here on the Boulevard today. So, you may find something that's more your cup of tea. Let's move over to Container Journal real quick. And we have an article up there today called Solving the Hidden Cost of Kubernetes Applications. And, as people are adopting Kubernetes, we're learning A, security, and B, there's some little gotchas that, we didn't account for in terms of our cost and time and effort. So take a good look at that article. I think it's well worth reading and learning on. Couple of good articles on Devops.com. 5 tips for managing development teams remotely during the coronavirus. Timely, for sure. And, it's one thing for marketing teams to work remotely, sales teams to work remotely. But when you're trying to do development remotely, there are some things you do differently, right? For some shops, no big deal. Their developers were remote, or they were outsourcing them to other countries and so forth, or the teams were distributed. But for some, it's not. For some organizations, their developers always work kind of together, and this remote environment poses challenges for them. So 5 good tips in that article. Go check those out. And over in the IT is Code section, one of our newer sections on Devops.com, embracing the journey to public cloud. And this is from Bob Lord over at IBM and Ravi Kumar at Infosys. And this is a really good article about, hey, a lot of IT people, no one likes change, so they resist this move to the cloud. And maybe that's not the wisest thing for both your company and your career. have a look at that article. It's IT is Code. I also just wanted to point you out to the Cloud Beast series around software delivery management, the new mindset. Anders Wahlgren continues to just knock it out of the park there. Always good to have Anders, and he'll be. I believe he'll be a guest on TechStrong TV next week, so we'll have that. Guys, that's going to wrap up the news for this Friday, April 17th. Now it's going to, if you don't mind putting away your pens and pencils, like anyone uses pens and pencils, get on your workout gear, and let's join Jeremy Jones for Working From Home Fitness. We'll be back.
Hey guys, Jeremy here with Media Ops. Welcome to our third installment of Workout From Home with Jeremy. So if you guys haven't checked out the first two, what we've started doing is putting out workout videos that'll walk you through. You can always go back to the others to either revisit them, or if you haven't seen them, go back. You can find them on Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Roku. Also, you can find us on TechStrong.tv for those playbacks if you're not following along directly with the video. So we started doing this in response to the coronavirus. Everybody being quarantined, we're stuck in our house. We need to be more active, especially with the virus. We want to keep our circulatory and our respiratory systems as healthy as humanly possible. So with that said, we've got a great workout set up for you guys today. We're going to start out with our warm-up. All right, guys, so for our warm-up, we're going to start it out with jumping jacks. Again, we're going to do each of these for about 30 seconds each. So after jumping jacks, we're going to move into body weight squats, onto anterior reaches, lateral lunges, and finish it off with a standing knee to elbow. All right, let's get started. All right, guys, so starting out with our jumping jacks. So if you're not able to do a full jumping jack, what I want you to do is bring your arms up and just step to the side. Up and step to the side. For those of us that can, we're gonna go right into our jumping jacks. Again, we're gonna go about 30 seconds. Just get that blood pumping a little bit, get our muscles nice and loose. Good, and we'll go for another 3, 2, 1, and right into bodyweight squats. As always, keep your weight back on your heels. Hips are being pushed back. Take it down as slow and low. Good, as you're getting warmed up, try to get a little bit deeper into your squat. If you can't go all the way down, that's fine. Go down as far as you're comfortable doing. That's why we're doing these, to increase flexibility. Good, we're gonna go for another 3, 2, 1, and up next, we've got our anterior reaches. All right, guys, we're gonna stand on our left foot, reaching down with our right arm. We're gonna fixate our eyes on a spot about 10 feet ahead of us. Slowly reach down. Really hold that core and work your balance. Good, we're gonna go one more on this side and move over to our right foot, reaching down with your left arm. Try to keep your shoulders as parallel to the ground. And as you can see, I'm a little bit better on my left side than my right side. If you ever need to restabilize, just drop that back foot on the ground. But try to do it without touching. And we'll go one more. Good. Next up, we're gonna move into our lateral lunges. So we're gonna step out to the side, hips go back, lean it over to the other side, and good. Lean over. Don't worry if you can't get down quite as far. And if you can get down even further, great. I'm just gonna work over side to side. We're gonna go one more each side. And we're gonna move to our last one, which is knee to elbow. So elbows out to the side, open up those hips. Try to touch your elbow with your knee. Open up those hips. Good, we're gonna go for 30 seconds. A few more, last 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, now that we're all warmed up, let's jump right into the workout. All right, guys, so for the workout today, we're going to use, as you know, we pick a common household item that just about everybody has in case you don't have workout equipment. Of course, if you've got dumbbells or kettlebells or bands, I would suggest you use those. But however, we want to use common household items for those who don't have any workout equipment. So the workout we're going to be doing today are going to be using gallon jugs, all right? Your common gallon bottles of water. They weigh roughly about 8.5 pounds each, all right? So for my beginners, we're gonna go through 3 rounds. For my intermediate, we're gonna go 4. And for my more advanced, we're gonna try to get through 5 rounds. Our rep count today is gonna be between 15 and 20. So if you finish your last one, and you fall in between the rep range of between 15 and 20, you're right where you need to be. It's okay if you can't quite get to 20, if you end up on 16 or 17, can't do any more. Don't push yourself, stress yourself to get to those last ones. As long as you're falling in between that rep count, you're at the right weight. So first off, we're gonna go into a bent over row, lateral raises. We're gonna work a little bit more of the core today with our weighted crunches, go back into our curls, try kickbacks, and then leg raises. Guys, I designed this to be able to move through this and with minimal rest in between, because we're gonna be working different muscle groups in each one. All right, guys, first exercise, we've got our bent over row. So I know I grabbed 2 of these before. So let's say you only have 1. All right, we're gonna take a nice firm surface, just like we did in our earlier videos with our push-ups. Again, make sure it's firm, it's not gonna go anywhere. We're gonna bring the side that we're rowing on, that foot is gonna be back, hand placed here. We're gonna slowly bring it up, try to get your elbow just past your back. 2, 3, we're gonna do a 15 on each side. 6, 7, 8. Good. I'm gonna go again, 15 to 20 on each side. And then what we're gonna do is move it over to the other side. Good. Notice how I'm slow and controlled. I'm not rushing through, having under tension the entire time. This is gonna be working my back, my lat, a little bit of the rear delt. Okay, let's go another couple. Now, if you do have the 2 water bottles or the 2 water jugs, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hinge our hips back, try to keep your torso parallel to the ground, let your hands hang, and then we're gonna raise both up at the same time. Again, nice and tight. They should be coming up to the base of your rib and under control the whole time. All right, guys, on to our second exercise, which is our lateral raises. Let's start out with 1 in case you only have 1 water bottle. Opposite hand goes on your hip. You're going to slowly raise the water jug out to the side. And as you notice here, there's 4. I've got a slight bend in my elbow. So this is actually going to be slightly in front of my shoulder. I'm going to work my medial delt. Nice and slow. Don't let it pull you down. Don't let it jerk you down. Have it constantly under tension the entire time. And then we're gonna go move it over to the other side. You're gonna try to keep your shoulders nice and square throughout. Tighten up your core. Good. There's 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll go 5 more. Good. Okay, nice and slow. Last 2. And 1. Good. Now, if you do have both water jugs, you can hit them both at the same time. Again, nice and slow. Just like that. Good. On to our third exercise. We're gonna take it down to the ground. So for more of my beginners, we're gonna do it without the water bottle. So we'll do a standard crunch. So my feet are on the ground. I'm laying flat, arms reaching up. I'm gonna bring those shoulder blades off the ground, crunching up, right? So for my more advanced, we're gonna add a little bit of weight to this, okay? A little bit more weight with the water bottle. Go 5 more. Good. 2 and 1. Good. So guys, as I'm going through this, again, I'm working different muscle groups for each exercise, so I'm able to keep pushing along. So we're working back here, shoulders here. Those are recovering. So now I'm gonna move on to bicep with my curls, keeping those elbows nice and locked in. Again, I'm not swinging, not using momentum, not rocking them back and forth, keeping my core nice and tight. Good. There's 10. Now, if I only have one, then I'm just gonna do 15 on one side. There's 15 on that side, and 15 on the other side. And one more. Good. All right, guys, moving on to our fifth. We're gonna do try kickback. So we're gonna do different angle. Now, this is gonna be very similar to the bend over row. If I've only got one of the jugs, I'm gonna switch my grip on this too. I'm gonna have the opening here, pushing it away from me. So again, nice sturdy surface. I'm gonna bring my elbow up and extend. Extend at the elbow. Try to keep that elbow up past your back. So we're gonna go 15 on this side, and we're gonna move it over, do 15 on the other side. Okay, got a few more to go. Another 3, 2, and 1. Good, move it over to the other side and extend. Good. Now, if I've got both of these, what I'm gonna do, again, same as the bent over row, is I'm gonna hinge over at the hips, raise my elbows up past my back, and extend. Good. Now, if this weight gets to be a little bit too much for you guys, you can always pour some of the water out, have a little bit less weight in there. Okay, guys, last but not least, we're gonna hit our core one more time. We're gonna go back down to the ground, and we're gonna do our leg raises. So I want you to put your hands right at the small of your back, okay? Help support that lower back. A slight bend in my knees. I'm gonna slowly raise and lower. Slowly raise and lower. Don't let them hit the ground. We're actually not gonna use the water bottles for these. Good. I'm gonna go, again, 15 to 20 on our rep count. Okay, we got about 5 more. 3, 2, and 1. Good. All right, guys, that's our workout for today. So as a reminder, if for my beginner levels, we're gonna go through 3 rounds of that. For my intermediate, we're gonna go 4 rounds. For my more advanced, we're gonna go 5 rounds. All right, guys, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any feedback, anything else that you'd like to see, any recommendations, you can always email me at Jeremy, Jeremy, @devops.com. All right, guys, thanks. Be safe, be well.
All righty. You know what? Hey, it's not easy doing what Jeremy does on these work from home workouts. I hope you guys enjoy it. And as I said, you didn't get a chance to do it while you're working. Go to TechStrong.tv, watch it on demand when you're ready to work out. And Jeremy's whole circuit is out there for you. Great stuff. Next up, we're going to go over to Charlene O'Hanlon, our managing editor. And Charlene has Grant Goods, cryptographer and chief scientist at GuardSquare. Charlene, over to you.
Thanks, Alan. Welcome back, everybody, to TechStrong TV. This is Charlene O'Hanlon. I am the managing editor at Devops, and I have the distinct pleasure today of speaking with Grant Goods, who is the cryptographer and chief scientist at GuardSquare. Grant, thank you so much for taking a few minutes and talking with me today.
Thank you very much. I look forward to speaking with you.
Great, great. So we're going to be talking a little bit about mobile security and DevOps, and obviously this is a big topic these days with the current COVID-19 crisis and the upcoming election security. And I know that there are some states that are actually kind of toying with the idea of maybe doing some, some mobile election processes. And so, I'm wondering if maybe that's even more of a, consideration these days, considering the COVID-19 crisis. So, top of mind for a lot of states and a lot of folks around, in a number of different areas when we're talking about mobile applications. But, obviously there is a huge issue with security and mobile applications, which is also top of mind for a lot of folks. So let's talk a little bit about securing mobile apps and maybe what folks can do during the DevOps process. But, what is it about mobile apps that make it so difficult to secure during DevOps, during the DevOps process?
I think there are two aspects. It's clearly the case that mobile apps tend to be very, very agile. They tend to be very concerned with getting to market very quickly. So the development cycle is often compressed. They are very focused on features and utility and to some degree convenience. And security doesn't really make it onto that list. And the second thing is that traditional testing, feature-based testing, functional testing, is a well understood area, and it can be, DevOps has as part of its DNA that you test early, test often, but it's all about functional testing. Security testing, on the other hand, is a very nascent field. We really don't have a handle on it. Mm-hmm. The ultimate goal of security testing, of course, is that the app doesn't get hacked, but you can't, and short of bringing in actual attackers, hackers, and pointing them at the app, it's not very well defined what it means to be secure. So I think that's a great deal of the struggle.
So we're kind of early in the DevSecOps process, so to speak. But I know that there's definitely a movement afoot to really integrate security earlier in the DevOps process. So but I also know that there's this push-pull between developers and security personnel who, we're kind of right now we're still sacrificing speed for security and vice versa. So how do you think that can be mitigated? What can organizations do to kind of maybe seamlessly incorporate security into the DevOps process so that there really isn't a sacrifice, if you will, between speed and security?
Yeah, so that is one of the fundamental conundrums of application security, is that almost inevitably there is a cost. It is either in performance or in size, or in some cases functionality. But ultimately, you can code for security. You can design the application with security in mind. That is the most important aspect. If you haven't done that, applying it later as a security sauce at the very end when the meal is already cooked isn't going to be that successful. So code for security. And in addition, as using the DevOps approach, which is test early, test often, build it into the build and deployment process, there are a number of security things that can be done that aren't necessarily going to slow the application down, but are going to detect problems. And good examples are looking for important strings, just exposing strings that are attack vectors shouldn't be done, and you can scan for them statically as part of the DevOps process. So there are a number of static and code analysis type security processes that can be instituted in a DevOps framework that don't actually have a cost aside from the notion that you would have to change the application to fix them. So therefore, do them early in the development cycle, not at the end. But yes, you're right. Some aspects of security, application security, in particular things like RASP, runtime off application self-protection, they do impose a cost. But as long as they're designed in, as long as the security budget is allowed for in the application, you should be able to add these additional elements without impacting the overall required performance of the application.
Great. Do you think that there's still very much a culture associated with DevSecOps and the need to include security? Do you think that sometimes that just the idea of having a separate security person coming in and as part of the DevOps process, that's maybe also kind of hindering folks, that they're just culturally they're not inured to having that as a quote unquote extra step in the process?
Absolutely. This is DevOps has as one of it, again, testing is part of DevOps, but you always try to get the notion across that it's not just the testers that test. The application writers themselves should take that into account. The processes should take it into account. Everybody should consider functional testing as an important element of making an application succeed. So that's true of security as well. I would say it is an education process that is ongoing. Security used to be something that only a rarefied few even understood. Cryptography in particular has that sort of reputation of being something that no one else can really understand except someone with a PhD, and that's just not true. The basics are pretty easy. A couple of Wikipedia articles later, you'd probably be an expert sufficient to write a very well secured application. So yes, we do need education. I think as well, just as with, say, functional code, code quality can be achieved to some degree by things such as coding standards and education of the developers, getting them to write the code well in the first place. I think security has the same nature. It's just something that we're maybe only coming to the realization that it's even necessary. In the past, mobile apps didn't necessarily have a lot of security concerns because they were games, they were little time wasters, but that's not true anymore. People are doing a lot more of their day-to-day activities on a mobile platform. So banking, and not just playing movies and playing games, but doing necessary activities that do have a security element. So I think that world is coming. It's an ongoing process.
I think also with, so many folks working from home these days with the, the COVID-19 crisis and how that's going to impact the way people work in the future beyond this crisis. I think we are going to see a lot more people who do work from home fairly regularly. And I think that because of that, there's definitely going to be a need to have more secure applications. And, we're talking about, Zoom for one. There have been so many issues that come to light about folks coming in and hacking into the Zoom accounts and Zoom bombing, and I know that that's top of mind for a lot of folks. So and a lot of folks actually are accessing Zoom through mobile applications. Yes. So I think that organizations really do need to consider security earlier in the process for DevOps. And, and I'm also wondering, and it's something that I mentioned at the top of our discussion, was the upcoming elections, and that there are certain states that are considering using mobile applications during the election process and casting ballots. How does this conversation kind of fit into that idea of the election security? And it almost sounds like it's a mountain that needs to be climbed, and organizations have a lot of work to do to secure those mobile apps. So where does this fit into that conversation?
Absolutely, I would agree with you completely. Effectively, I talked about a security budget. You need to have this notion that it doesn't come for free. If you do care, and of course, there couldn't be a more clear example of a security needing application than a mobile voting application, because the opportunities for overturning our democracy are there. And this is not just going to affect one person's finances as a banking app might, but this is going to affect an entire outcome of an election. So if they don't budget for the notion that security needs to be there in the beginning, that means taking the time to develop the app with security in mind, and it does probably mean applying some security software application security tooling to the resulting application. And it does probably mean some pen testing and other post-application build processes. So I think this is just that's what has to happen. If we do care, and I think it's certainly the case that people are concerned, and this is a new world, we need to respond to it. Without that budgeting upfront for having some security, for leaving time in the development process, for putting some expertise and some coding standards and other such upfront mitigations, we are not going to succeed. So, but I think we do have most of the tools. The tools are evolving. That's certainly the case, and they're going to get better. But it is also something we should recognize that the attackers are also evolving. We have to respond in an ongoing fashion to these challenges. We can't just say, job done, move on. It's going to have to be something that is always taken into account as necessary steps to make the results succeed in the market.
Do you think we're already kind of behind the curve, or do you think we're already too late when it comes to mobile application security as it pertains to the election? I mean, are we too late?
I wouldn't say we're too late. I know the recent bad example of the Iowa caucus election was kind of all over the news, but that was clearly a very rushed, very low budget effort, and that is something you just can't do with a mobile voting app. You can't just say, okay, let's get a couple of quick and dirty programmers together. We'll produce this in a week or less. You're going to have to take a little more time, follow best practices, and do your due diligence both upfront and at the end. I think we can solve these problems, but again, we have to take them seriously, and you cannot under budget both time and money and process on and expect the result to be good. They are high value attacks. You get a lot of street cred and a lot of self-promotion by attacking something that has this much media attention on it. Mm-hmm. And I think if you don't take that into account, the result isn't going to be pleasant. It's not to reduce the job we have ahead of us. There is a lot of work to be done, but I think we have a lot of good tools. We just need to apply them and use good practices and make sure that we are budgeting for that process.
All right, great. Well, Grant, thank you so much for taking a couple minutes and talking with me about this. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more in the coming months as it pertains to mobile security. So thanks so much for your insight. Really appreciate it.
Great, it was good. Great talking to you as well. Thank you.
Great. Well, stay tuned, guys, for more TechStrong TV. We'll be right back.
Disruption is occurring across every aspect of IT. Open source, cloud services, DevOps, and cloud-native software architectures are democratizing IT and radically transforming how business is done. The old ways of creating software and doing IT are being replaced with agile, flexible, faster, and cheaper methods, benefiting vendors and users alike. Accelerated Strategies Group is out to democratize access of industry expertise and knowledge. We use our expertise and experience to offer insightful, intelligent, useful information in a variety of formats relevant to the IT community, digital events, videos, reports, assessments, workshops, and implementation projects with tech vendors, IT organizations, and business leaders. We widely and openly share our work products, often for free. Analyst reports these days aren't worth more than a graph or chart that tells a story or illustrates a market trend. We work with developers, DevOps teams, cloud architects, security engineers, and transformation leaders most every day, creating and implementing transformational strategies and technologies. We're not just thinkers, we're also doers.
All righty. Thanks, Charlene. Now it's time to head over to the Analyst Corner with Mitch. Sing along with Mitch, as they used to say. Mitchell Ashley, CEO, co-founder, Accelerated Strategy Group. Mitchell has two great segments today that he'll share with you. So, Mitch, over to you.
Welcome to Analyst Corner. We're wrapping up the week looking at our weekly flash poll survey. Some really interesting results. I was a little bit surprised, maybe very surprised from. Now, we were asking the question, if it was supported by your company, how much would you shift to working from home post-COVID-19? I think it's important to recognize that question starts with if it was supported by your company, because companies have very differing policies. Now, here's the big answer, the big result, the big reveal from this survey. 85% of the respondents said they had a preference of working from home, at least a preference of 1 day or more. Now, a big majority of that, out of the total number of respondents, 60% said they had a preference for working for 3 days or more from home, or they already work from home. Now, that could be a permanent situation. They'd like to go permanent. Maybe they're already permanent from home, or maybe they'd like at least do 3, 4, or 5 days. So that's a majority of the week, if not the full week for everybody. So over half, well over half, have that as a preference. Now, the folks who responded and said they really prefer to return on site as things were before COVID-19 were 15%. So a pretty small number. That's their preference. Now, just to tease apart the numbers a little bit more, 25% said their preference was working from home 1 to 2 days per week. So you can kind of see how we got those numbers. Really interesting data. So why do people feel like they would like to work from home? Could be potentially multiple answers, and we're going to be doing some more research into this as well. I certainly suspect safety is a big factor. And since none of us really know how our governments, how our economies, how businesses are going to reopen, quote unquote, there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and we don't have a vaccine. We don't necessarily have an antibody test yet to be able to tell who is protected from COVID. There's just a large number of unknowns and not sure when those things are really going to be solved. Matter of fact, just one of the recent events is many of the states, especially in the East Coast, have announced that they're extending their work from home or stay home policies for the people in their states to May 15th. And it's possible it gets shifted out more from that. We'll see. Who knows? So safety, I suspect, is a big factor. May also be that people have actually discovered some real benefits from working from home. I know that I work from home. I've done that off and on throughout my career. A big one is no commute. I don't have 20 minutes, half an hour, 45, or even more than an hour commute each way, possibly, that you have to deal with. That's a big gift to hand back to everyone. And it's nice to have that time back, either to do work or to spend time with family or do other things as well. So the work environment's great. I mean, hopefully you can set up a great environment where you're comfortable, you're productive. You have a lot of flexibility. There's a number of things that can be really positive about working from home. It also can be a real challenge, and it's part of why I'm surprised, we had a 15%, we had a preference for going back to the way they worked before in offices. If you have kids at home, especially if you're a single parent, that can be really challenging with working from home. Some jobs lend itself well to it, have enough flexibility. Others, if you're on the phone all day, you're taking calls, dealing with customers, et cetera, it can be a real challenge, especially if you don't have help to manage that part of the daily life, since kids aren't going to school and, they need some structure and organization as well. I suspect all of this is we are all trying to understand what the new normal is going to look like. I don't expect new normal to look like normal before COVID. I think there'll be some lasting and potentially permanent changes. And just settling in, since we don't know kind of what's happening when, how things are going to unfold, getting comfortable with how things are working and being as productive as possible. If you have a job still, if you want to do a good job, you want to be productive, you want to do the best job you can and hopefully hang on to that job if potentially is a threat. And if you're seeking a job, that's where you're going to be doing it from home. And it's good to be able to reach out to other people in a similar situation. So thank you for everyone who filled out the poll this week. We had over 1,000 respondents. So it was very popular, very good response, and really comfortable with kind of data that we're receiving. As I mentioned, we're going to be looking into some of the reasons why you might have a preference for working at home and share that with you as well next week. So again, thank you for participating. Really encourage you to continue taking the poll. You can do that by visiting devops.com. You can also go to acceleratedsurvey.com, as well as Accelerated Strategies Group website. But you can go to acceleratedsurvey.com and get the poll there as well. And check that out, because you'll also be able to see the results from this poll as well as previous weekly polls that we've done. Again, thank you for participating. Be well, be safe, and be careful out there.
Devops.com is the #1 online destination for DevOps education and community building. Devops.com covers all aspects of DevOps, including DevOps best practices and tools, DevOps culture, DevSecOps, business impact, continuous testing, continuous delivery, and more. Devops.com has the largest collection of original DevOps content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.devops.com to learn more. Devops.com, where the world meets DevOps.
This is Digital Anarchist at GitLab Commit London 2019.
Hi, welcome. This is Mitch Ashley with Digital Anarchist and Devops.com, and we're here at the GitLab Commit in London. Great conference, some great talks, a lot of great people. One of the great people we have on, I'm happy to introduce, is David Planella, who is Director of Community Relations at GitLab. So we're talking to the guy that talks to the people, your community. Tell us a little bit about what does it then involve, the community program, community relationships at GitLab?
Essentially, in general, what we do is to make it easy for people to contribute. We say at GitLab, everyone can contribute. So our work is essentially realizing that vision. And that in concrete steps means, as I said, making it easy for people to contribute, making sure that people are recognized for their valuable contributions, making sure that we are responsive to them, and making sure that we have programs and initiatives that cater for those contributors. The ultimate goal is to grow that community and have that virtuous circle where we get more features because people contribute more bug fixes, and we are faster in essentially getting this into the code. Mm-hmm. We're also relatively diverse in the way that we work with contributors and in the areas that we work with them, meaning that it's not only code or documentation, but there are things like meetups, there are speakers. There are translators, and we try to be as much welcoming, as much responsive as possible to essentially acknowledge that those contributions are a gift, and that, we're very, very, very happy for them to come in, essentially.
It's interesting to call it a gift because it is. I'm curious about the culture of GitLab. Very much has that developer feel. It's still about anybody can contribute, anybody can play a role, transparency. That has to make your job easier to interface between internal and also the communities you work with. Can you say a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just transparency, but it's like the fact that we're working, like one of our values is efficiency, and that applied to community makes a world of difference as well. Being transparent means that everyone is on the same page. There's no hidden features. There's no hidden discussions. There's no wall, essentially. And what we're trying to do is to remove that wall at GitLab, or essentially to make sure that there's no wall to remove, essentially. So whenever, just as an example, whenever someone wants to contribute a feature, we tend to say, start with a merge request, and that's a faster way to reduce the development time, to reduce the discussion time. And then we are, one of our goals is to become responsive as possible to those contributions. And all of the discussion happens in the open. So there's no meeting from developers that are discussing this community contribution from someone from the wider community. Everything happens in the open, meaning that, it's easier for everyone to understand what's happening, and it's efficient for everyone. There's no parallel threads, essentially. And I think that's something that's especially valuable in the way that we work. And then another thing that I wanted to touch on was on efficiency. We try to, some of the work that I've been doing with other communities as well meant that people would send you a contribution, and of course everyone's busy, and those contributions tended to fade away because no one had the time or the priorities to cater for those. We try to get a good feeling between automation and being human, essentially making sure that we recognize automatically that what we're being sent is a community contribution, but then at the same time that there's a human there that's there to receive that contribution, to thank them, and to guide them along the way. So I think that's, I feel personally that's a very powerful combination.
It certainly puts you in a better light as you represent the company to the community. When people make contributions, I heard someone say once, don't ask a question if you aren't willing to do something about the answer. So in other words, if you're going to contribute something through the community, how does it happen? How does the person that's contributing something, code or documentation or scripts, whatever it might be, how do they see the process from their side to know that they're first heard and evaluated and adopted, accepted, or maybe rejected if it wasn't something you chose to do?
We try to make sure that that there's no difference in the workflow. So if someone who's part of the GitLab team develops a feature or fixes a bug, they will follow. Well, they will use the same tools, and they will follow the same process as anyone from outside of the team.
Just a different source.
Yes, exactly. That's a very nice way to put it. It's essentially the process of submitting something and then getting it reviewed. We do make an extra effort at making sure that if it's external contribution, especially for new first-time contributors, which might not be too familiar with the process, to have someone in there, and that's our code contributor program and our merge request coaches that help them with getting notifications, with telling them if there's something that needs to be changed or something that doesn't follow the process that this suggestion on how to do it, essentially. But yeah, I think in summary, what I would say is that like making sure that we're following the same process, and yeah, I think that's
so it shows the respect that you have for that contribution is equal to someone internally.
And I think that's a very inherent way of showing that respect and being honest as well. Essentially, we get quite a lot of feedback. Generally, it's constructive feedback, but it is also good to see and keeps us honest. If something's not working, that feedback, it might be negative. It's also in the open as well.
This can be some of the most valuable feedback.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly.
So it sounds like you're talking about what some of your contributor programs are. Yeah. I think you're making an announcement about a new kind of contributor program. Is that right?
Yeah. So we cater for different parts of the contributor community. Right now, we have a set of programs in which we decided to put our focus, that being the code contributor program, which is mostly what we've been talking so far about. We have the evangelist program as well, which caters for individuals or organizations in the wider community that want to organize meetups. So it's all about enabling those organizers to grow the network of events that are happening across the world without them being specifically GitLab employees. We have the education program where we support educational institutions with free licenses from our top tier.
Get them young, right?
Yes,
build it in early.
Exactly.
During their education.
It's all about enabling young professionals to bring that expertise to their future professional career, and then to grow the knowledge base about GitLab as well.
I was saying earlier, the first person that I met, attendee at the conference this morning, was a young professional, 10 months out of university, and using your product for 8 months already, and getting started on the right path, certainly
Excellent.
from GitLab's perspective.
Yeah. So,
great. Now, and is there another program, something that you're launching?
Yeah, so essentially, these are our programs. I should probably add the open source program as well.
Oh, okay.
Which is similar in nature to the education program. In the sense that we offer free licenses for our top tiers of GitLab, but we also kind of partner with large open source projects such as GNOME, such as Free Desktop, such as Debian, such as KDE. Some of them are here today on our panel. We have Debian, we have GNOME, KDE, and Free Desktop. And we essentially work with them on their migrations to GitLab to help them as well to get more contributors and to get more contributions faster as well.
You have to be a participant in other open source projects, not just creating your own.
And it's all about supporting open source as well. But I think it's the mutual benefit. But yeah, I mean, essentially what we're trying to do with some of these programs is to make sure that we're working also effectively, and that we don't have specific things about the program that makes us work less efficiently, but at the same time still being human to our contributors. So we've recently launched the GitLab Heroes program, which is a new initiative to recognize and support our most valuable contributors. What we say with the Heroes program is that it's a journey. So it starts with your first contribution, and then depending on the nature of the contributions, on how many contributions, on your engagement, then you can go along the hero path. So starting from a contributor to a hero to a superhero as well, and
love to be a superhero.
Yeah, I think this is actually some of the feedback that we've gotten from some people as well. That I think being superhero is something really, really attractive to them. But yeah, I mean, but with Heroes, what we're trying to do is, as I said, to bring all of those programs into something that's more cohesive. So it's not just about code contributions, but it's about people speaking about GitLab at conferences, people organizing meetups, and people writing documentation, people doing translation, that everyone can get into this hero's path or hero's journey.
That's a great way to look at it, because it's not just who contributes the best or the most code. There's a lot of different roles.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was talking with another person about is a way to give back to the community, to the open source community, is also evangelizing, talking about it, speaking at a conference like this. So tell me a little bit about, how do you measure the success of a community program? Because it seems kind of amorphous, and how do you know, what you want to achieve and whether you've achieved those goals, and what's it like for you at GitLab doing that?
I mean, we actually follow part of our values in the sense that we are looking for results. And we know that working with community means also getting those intangible results, but we're also very focused on the things that we can measure. So, I mean, obviously, when we measure those things, then we can decide whether we need to adjust things or work in another direction, or whether we need to repeat that. Specifically, what we do is we use we use a platform called Bitergia, that's specifically for contributions from the wider community. It's an analytics platform that helps us measure, for instance, how many contributions we get in a month, how many contributors, how many new contributors we get. All these statistics are public. They're on contributors.gitlab.com. Because we feel that this has to be transparent as well. And this is also an incentive for our contributors, where they have some healthy competition, as in seeing who's the contributor who's contributed the most in a month, for instance. So what we tend to do is to set goals. We work with OKRs that span a quarter, and some of these OKRs contain our results or our values driven. Some of them are less values driven, such as launching a new campaign, but we do keep track and act on the results of that data, essentially. I think for us the most important thing is there's lots of things that you can measure. For us, it's important to pick one thing that we want to focus on and then stick to that. We can use the rest of the data to analyze trends or analyze patterns, but I think it's very easy to get really lots of overwhelming amount of information. We don't want this platform to be something like just shiny to showcase our community, but also to act on how we can best serve that community.
And my golf instructor says, one thought in your swing, that work on at a time.
Right.
Focus on that. And by the way, OKRs, if folks aren't familiar with them, it's objectives and key results. Actually comes out of the Intel, early Intel managing objectives. How about the startup environment? What kind of initiatives do you have for them?
I mean, obviously, from GitLab coming from the Y Combinator environment or family, we are very much, I would say, not just familiarized, but it's an important part of our history. So being a startup, being part of that environment is something that's very much ingrained in what we do. And we have just launched a new program where we try to support new startups, new organizations, to essentially make their, accelerate their life cycle with just one single tool. We know that when startups, get off the ground, it's difficult to get for them to get resources. It's difficult for them to make decisions. So we want to make it easy for them to just to get the one tool to help them accelerate their business. So with this intent, we've just launched a program where we again offer our top tier features, either GitLab Ultimate or GitLab Gold, for startups that are part of the YC Combinator program. Right now, there's a set of requirements. I think it's I think we're accepting the three last batches, meaning the winter and summer batch and the current batch, and then there has to be a limit in terms of funding. It is 3 million right now, and as I say, we've started with YC Combinator companies, but we're also discussing to open it to other incubators in the future as well.
There's a lot of great things like Techstars is another, not quite incubator, but similar kind of programs that might be a good avenue for that. Great. Well, it sounds like you have a wonderful program and a vibrant community, people contributing. So good work to you, and I'm sure a lot of others at GitLab. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, David.
All right.
This is David Planella, the Director of Community Relations here at GitLab, talking about the community. Thank you for joining us.
SecurityBoulevard.com is the leading resource for news, analysis, and education on challenges facing the cybersecurity industry. SecurityBoulevard.com covers all aspects of cybersecurity, including data security, DevSecOps, cloud security, application security, network security, security threats, and more. SecurityBoulevard.com has the largest selection of security content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.securityboulevard.com to learn more. SecurityBoulevard.com, home of Security Bloggers Network.
All righty. Thanks, Mitch. That was great. Well, guys, it's been another fantastic episode here of TechStrong TV. We close out our third week. We're really looking forward to next week. We've got some really great interviews lined up, and I think you'll enjoy them. But until then, you know what? I hope we can enjoy this weekend. Try to get some fresh air, some sunshine, hopefully, if you're in a place where the sun is shining. But even if not, do try to get some fresh air, some exercise, and we will see you Monday. So until then, stay well, stay healthy, stay strong. TechStrong. We'll see you on Monday, everyone. Bye-bye.